the January meeting of the Mayville Community Service District Board.
It's on when the button's up.
It's gotta get closer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Solid. April, can you do a roll call for us?
Yes. Director Binder.
Here.
Director Clark Peterson. Present. Director Mayo.
Here.
Director Orsini.
Present.
And President Couch.
Present. Okay, next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Dennis, can you lead us in the pledge? Got a similar voice. Ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is additions to the agenda. Items may be added to the agenda in accordance with the government code. By the determination of 2/3 votes of the legislative body present at the time of the meeting. Less than 2/3 of the members are present, a unanimous vote of those members present. But there is need to take immediate action, and the need for action came to the attention of the village after the agenda was posted. So we got any changes, additions?
No additions to the agenda.
Thank you. Anybody want to move to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. You do a roll call on that?
Director Binder.
Aye.
Director Clark Peterson. Aye. Director Mayo.
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
And President Couch.
Yes. Right, closed session discussions. We have no closed session schedule. Public hearings. We have no public hearing schedule. So now we'll go to public comment and written communication. Any person may address the board at this time upon any subject not identified on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the McKinleyville Community Service District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report of action at a subsequent committee or board meeting. As to matters on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Letters should be used for complex issues. Any public comment? Anyone in the Zoom-averse who's out there?
Joey. No, sir.
Who do we have as?
Okay, see nobody stepping forward or raising their hand for Zoom, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the board of directors at one time without discussion. If any board member or staff member or interested person requests that an item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed so that it may be acted upon separately. So. Comments for the consent calendar?
Yeah, I would like to pull item D3.
Okay. Do I make a motion to?
I'll move to approve the remaining part of the consent calendar item.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Director Binder.
Aye.
Director Clark Peterson. Aye. Director Mayo.
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
President Couch.
Yes. Find us. Page 33. Presented by Patrick.
So as the board is aware, we have gone through the municipal service review that we do every 5 years, and LAFCO did a draft, came back to this board. This board had comments on it, sent it back to LAFCO staff, attempted to incorporate those comments, sent it on to LAFCO. The LAFCO board approved it. And so this is the approved, LAFCO approved version that is included as an attachment to this item. And the track changes show what changes have been made since the board initially approved this.
Their board or our board initially approved it?
Well, both boards have initially approved it. So our board had decided that had approved it with comments that Director Rossini and I think other folks had, that went then to LAFCO, and LAFCO board didn't make any other additional comments beyond those, so LAFCO board approved it. Now it's coming back to our board for review.
Just for review. And so I can take, thanks, Pat. So the issue is, and I discussed this with Mr. Kaspari, and I was going to kind of let it slide, and then I thought I would bring it back and approach the board with this. So one of the things, and I pointed it out multiple times through the review process that we've done on this, and that's related to it's on page 53 of the agenda. I don't know what page it is on the MSR, but on page 53 of the agenda, and it's basically on the out of agency service connections. And so one of the things that I'd noticed right away up front on this is that there's no, and Dennis, you probably recall this. This happened, and Dave, you too probably, that there was action by Arcata to annex the Boyd Road area, and so for everybody else in the public and for new board members, we have approximately, I don't know, what are there, like 12 or 15 services games over on that side of the river, between the ones up the hill and the ones on Boyd Road in that area? They're like
Like 20.
so there's that. Okay, so there's like
All
20 of them
behind those buildings along the side.
Oh, that's right. There's a bunch of there. That's right. We put a bunch in there for Dutra. Yeah. So there's like 5 more there that I wasn't thinking about. So those went in after the last time I read that road. So anyway, the issue is that after the city of Arcata tried to annex that area without public input from the customers in that area, we started getting calls, and so we the board, I brought it to the board. It was right after I'd taken off. So anyway, we ended up going to the city council meetings and the planning department meetings over in the city of Arcata, and on behalf of our customers on that side of the river, and also on behalf of the district, because of all of our infrastructure that we had in the ground. And James, you attended some of those meetings that we had with Arcata at that time, didn't you? Okay.
In Arcata?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, those were pretty interesting.
I'll never forget them.
Yeah. So anyway, the board then, so what happened was when the district was formed, there was no such, LAFCO did not exist. And so when LAFCO basically recognized the district, they left out the recognition of the fact that we had all those services over there. So at that point in time, the board had requested that we pursue legitimizing those services, that they belong to MCSD, and that we had infrastructure in the ground over there through LAFCO. And so we went through the process, and LAFCO approved an out of district service agreement that recognized our infrastructure and our customers in the Boyd Road area, and then also going up the hill towards the tanks, and we did that. And so now, and I brought that up, and I just really thought that it should have been added to the MSR, and it didn't get added. And so I wanted to bring it back to the board, give the board kind of some background on what that is, and then just to kind of ping you guys on whether or not you think this is much ado about nothing, or whether you think that we should follow this up, or, you know, I'm completely amicable to whatever the consensus of the board is.
And I would be too, except for the fact that we brought this up and I thought very clear with them that we wanted that included.
Yeah, and so the blue and purple in that paragraph in the middle of page 53 of the board packet, that was mine and the district's or LAFCO staff's attempt at addressing Greg's comments, and obviously we didn't address them completely. So it did get brought up. We attempted to address it, but
Yeah, well, and I think, so what, and a lot of what this is in here, and I agree with this, that it was wordsmithed correctly, but this is about the MOU that we have between Arcata and McKinleyville. This has nothing to do with our out of district service agreement that we have that's recognized by LAFCO and that legitimizes our customers and our infrastructure on that side of the river.
So do we need to reconfirm that? Reaffirm that, I mean?
well, so, I guess there's several options. One, we just let it go. Two, we edit this paragraph to add what Greg is looking for and then send it back to LAFCO staff and see if LAFCO staff, they would likely have to take it back to the LAFCO board to reapprove it, if they'd be willing to.
You can't foretell the future, but if you could, worst case scenario, what would be the bad things that could happen to us if we don't do that, if in the future wise?
If we do not do that, we've already started to lose the whole memory of that, because Greg is now on the board, luckily, so he's remembering all that stuff. I knew that it had become an issue, but I didn't know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
So I think worst case scenario is that it just gets lost, and it doesn't ever get memorialized.
Well, what I'm saying, I guess what the question is, and I made 4 presentations to our City Council on our behalf for that. And I don't care about memorialization. What I care about is our legal protection of our rights and our relationship with our customers. And do you feel that that is protected in this?
So that's protected in the legal documents that we've drawn up, that with the MOU with Arcata, as well as the service area boundary through LAFCO. So if push came to shove, we would pull out those documents and push back. But 10 years from now, when all of us are gone,
Right.
and
Right.
push comes to shove and people don't remember that those documents exist, then who knows? Then maybe it
Right.
could get taken away.
Well, that's a concern for me.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the only concern. I could care less about, having to have, I just want that. And I thought that's what we had talked about, 2 meetings ago? Or
Well, I brought it up on my first review of this document. I brought that
right,
up.
but as we got back, I mean, as we had some feedback back and forth, I thought we were really clear.
Yeah, I thought so too.
That was our concern. Would it be better for us to, let's throw this out to the board to think about, would it be maybe okay for us to just table this and have you and Pat and kind of chat about it and see if we can come up with?
I think that'd be a great idea. I'd like to see it as accurate as possible.
Yeah, and it might not even be a bad idea for the board to actually get a chance to review the out of service, the out of district service agreement too.
Yeah, I'd be interested in reading it.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I gotta put on my other hat here as the City of Arcata employee. So Eureka Ready Mix is planning to subdivide their property and turn it into residential development. So they are putting in a wastewater collection system and a lift station for the city of Arcata, to pump the sewer to our system.
Yeah, and
So
the
if
MOU
they do
yeah,
that,
and
they
the
will
MOU
probably get annexed into the city.
Sure, and the MOU that we have allows
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think it's just a matter of communication between the 2 agencies, because we don't have a water main running down there yet, but we're gonna be collecting sewer from them, and then I don't know what the city's position is on
Right.
if we're providing sewer, then should we sell them water too? So that's
I
probably.
just for a point of just to think about whatever, until we presented ourselves a couple times and it was apparent we weren't going away, we weren't treated too very well by Arcata in this conversation to begin with.
Oh, no, with the staff in Arcata and also, with the planning department, it wasn't until every one of the customers from Boyd Road went to the city council meeting along with us, that the city council backed down on the whole annexation of
And
that
I
area.
think I'm being nice when I said they weren't very nice to us.
Yeah.
So, well, it's in your ballpark. What do you want to do?
Well,
You are.
you're the one who pulled it. What, do you have any,
Well, like I said, I brought it up because when I talked to Pat about it, I was ready to say, but the more I thought about it, I texted Pat today and said, hey, I've been milling this over since Monday, and I think the board needs to have their position known, because this is very important to the board of directors that were on the board when we did that out of district service agreement. So I think that it's back to, I think it's important, and like I said, I'm not gonna fall my sword over this, but I'll support whatever the board.
I'll stab you for that.
Okay.
well, you want to make a motion or something to do? I mean,
I think, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can just decide to postpone this and
Yeah, you can
direct
table
the.
table it?
Yeah, we
till
can,
Okay,
but,
that
well,
sounds good.
yeah, well,
We'll just
I
pull
think-
it and table it till.
I think, I think, Scott, you've had your opinions known. Dave, I think you're probably, because of conflict of interest, probably are
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
wanna.
just trying to be
Yeah,
informational with what I'm doing
yeah.
there, 'cause
And Director Clark Peterson, what's your opinion on this?
Doesn't seem like a big deal to rewrite a sentence, so that we could do that, and unless LAFCO only does this once a year or something like that, but otherwise.
Well, this won't get redone for 5 years.
Yeah,
Oh.
so with that, so I guess if we table it, what I would do is bring it back to the next board meeting with edits that, Greg and I work on to this paragraph, as well as that out-of-district service agreement that LAFCO development, put it on your agenda for you guys to review the language, and we would also talk to LAFCO staff to make sure that we could, if we made changes, bring it back to the LAFCO board to get it reapproved.
And Colette should be fairly familiar with it because she's the staff person that did the staff and everything, so she would know. That's who I work with, and the planner that helped me with it was, and I can't think of her name. She worked for SHN, and I cannot remember her name to save my life. Do you remember who she was? You're better with names than I am.
Lisa or
No, it wasn't Lisa. It was
Rose? There was Rose.
no, it wasn't. She was a planner. She wasn't an engineer.
So it seems like very little thing, and in terms of correcting it, it's very little, but it's the kind of little thing that could turn out to be a real pain in the butt later on if we don't take care of it. That's my opinion, so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once again, it'd just be informational. It seems to me that this is existing infrastructure that's developed, and, if the city wants to replace it with their infrastructure, there's a cost there. So in the public interest of saving money, it's like, okay, let's just figure this out through communication and get it done, because this is just all wording and politics, and let's try to save money by just using what's there.
Well, and the thing about it is that, everybody was fairly clear about the fact that they did not want to be annexed into the city of Arcata. And they were led to believe that Arcata was going to take our water system, and they were going to have no choice in the matter. And I think that if they, as Eureka Ready Mix has done, if they decide to need sewer, or they're going to have to allow to be annexed into the city. There's just no way around it.
Right.
But like I said, when we did the MOU, the only one that wanted to be annexed was Eureka Ready Mix, and that was when and if they decided to develop their property, and nobody else wanted to be annexed.
And we had for lack of a better term, a gentleman's agreement between all of us that when they wanted to do that, it would be okay with all of us, and it wouldn't jeopardize anybody else not wanting to.
Right. Yes, as long as we're compensated for our infrastructure.
Waiting for a couple of new electric vehicles.
Okay, we got enough direction on that?
Yep, so we're tabling it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's see. Ahead of myself? We should be on E now, right?
Yep, division one, yep.
I guess first thing, continued and new business is update on certifications of participation, sale and final pricing for Series 2021 A and B TOPs. Page, is that you, Pat?
Yep, that's me. So, yeah, page 99 of your board packets. As discussed at the September 8th, October 6th, and November 18th, 2021 board meetings, the district is required to match $17.2 million in secured grant funding with $2.6 million for the construction of the 4.5 million gallon water storage tank and $1.7 million for the replacement of the district's 3 Highway 101 sewer crossings. In addition, the district is beginning a $4 million water and sewer main replacement project to replace the mains along Central Avenue from Center to Hill. These important projects require a total of $4.6 million in water and $3.7 million in sewer financing. These are critical infrastructure projects for the district that will provide needed resilience for the water and wastewater systems for McKinleyville. As presented in the September, October, and November board meetings, the district has been researching funding options with Brandis Tallman Oppenheimer to take advantage of historic low interest rates. The most cost-effective option was determined to be a public offering, a lease revenue bond, or certificates of participation sale for $4,680,000 in water and $3,820,000 in sewer under a 30-year financing scenario. The all-in true interest cost for this option was originally estimated to be 3.06%. District then obtained a AA- rating from Standard & Poor's, which helped reduce our insurance costs and made the bonds look more favorable to potential buyers. Oppenheimer, the bond underwriter, held the final pricing on December 7th, 2021, and in spite of a large volume of bond sales that week, we still had a very successful sale. The following table outlines the original estimated bond financing, the pre-pricing day financing, and the final results post-pricing day. As the table shows, the final pricing was very successful with an all-in true interest cost of 2.93% and reduced total debt service. The certificates of participation closed on December 21st, 2021, and the funds are available and in the bank. So attachment 1 is a final pricing information book produced by Brandis Tallman Oppenheimer that provides more detail. Attachment 2 is the certificate of purchase agreements for both the water and the wastewater certificates of participation. Rick Brandis from Oppenheimer, the underwriter, and Jim Fabian from Fieldman Roll-Up, our municipal advisor, are here as well to answer any additional questions. So staff recommends that the board of directors review the material provided, ask questions, invite public comment, and thank the finance team for a job very well done. So Jim, I don't know if you want to jump in now and add anything to my presentation.
Pat, good evening, and good evening to board members. Jim Fabian of Fieldman Roll-Up. I don't have any additional comments to add on the presentation. I just want to reinforce that the district really received a good outcome from the financing. We really pushed hard to have the schedule done in a way that would have the bonds sold in early December and close in late December. The board worked with us with the special meeting that was scheduled. Pat and his team were really great in terms of reviewing all the required documents and getting everything ready for the bond sale. Rick Brandis and his team executed on the pricing day with, as Pat mentioned, a lot of supply in the market due to the timing of the transaction. But since we sold bonds, interest rates have only gone up. So I think it was a really smart decision to implement the financing in 2021 get it done and lock in the interest rate and the cost to the district. So I just wanted to congratulate the district for a successful financing.
Rick, you want to jump in?
Muted, Rick.
Okay, okay. Well, first of all, Happy New Year, everybody. Jim put it well. He really captured everything. But the other thing, both Jim and I want to both have the same thought, and that is we really want to thank staff because it was a big lift to get this done in under 90 days. And we did. We got it done in about 70 days. And that's really a quick turnaround. We rarely do that. And as Jim mentioned, we did the right thing by getting it done before the end of the year. Rates have gone up. And so I'm glad we had the results we did. And we want to thank Pat and we want to thank Colleen for all the work they did on it to bring it to the finish line. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, everybody. It sounds really good to me. Any other board want to comment on?
Yeah, Jim and Rick, I want to thank you very much. And our staff and all of your staff. You know, they say timing's everything, and that's true. But you can have all the best timing in the world and have people don't know what the hell they're doing, it don't work. In this case, we had both, so I really appreciate it. And I was kind of on pins and needles because we need this thing to pan out like it did, and thank you so very much.
Our pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Dennis said to Jim and Rick. Thank you both and your staffs as well for doing this, and also our bond counsel and our general counsel, and then of course our staff too for doing an excellent job of getting the paperwork together. The sheer volume of information that is required to put this together is it's very comprehensive, but it's kind of mind-boggling that we were able to put this together, like Rick said, in 70 days. So thank you very much to everybody that was involved in this. And I'd also like to recognize the board of directors, our previous board of directors, for having the chutzpah to be able to put together a rate structure for us, or to approve a rate structure for us that allowed us to have such a great to get such a AA minus rating. So that just falls back to the board's ability to recognize that we need to be able to collect revenues in a way that makes us be able to get these decent rates. So all around kudos and thank you to everybody.
I'd like to say thanks to everybody too. As a first-year board member, this was a real good learning experience for me, and I packed away what I learned here in the event that this happens sometime in the future. So thank you all.
Repeating that you are all very impressive and seem like you were a great team that really gelled together for this. I'm really impressed you pulled it off. So congratulations, and thank you as a McKinleyville citizen.
Okay, well, I was going to remind too that we have this first sentence in the discussion that we kind of glossed over, but we financed $8 million and got a great rate, but we're also getting $17.2 million in secured grant funding. So thanks for the people who did the grant funding, and we're getting a 2-for-1 deal basically here on what we're financing at a great rate. So terrific all around. We don't have to take action. We're just
Nope, just information.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, our next item is E2, presentation of the Community Builder Award to Charlie Caldwell. And Leslie, are you doing this?
I am.
Thank you.
The Community Builder Award is an award the district presents to local individuals, businesses, and organizations for their volunteer service, sponsorship, promotion of programs and events, outstanding service in the interest of the district, and for other contributions significant to McKinleyville's quality of life. District staff has identified Charlie Caldwell as a worthy recipient of the award for 2021 for his dedication to serving and supporting the community. Charlie has been a champion for the development of the skate park in McKinleyville for over 20 years. As a skate park champion, Charlie has dedicated countless hours writing grants, doing community outreach, fundraising, and hosting skate ramps at various community events, always encouraging more people to learn and enjoy skateboarding. He's been a valued member of the Parks and Recreation Committee since April of 2012. Charlie actively participates in promoting and supporting all of the recreation opportunities available to the community. He is also a member of the McKinleyville Chamber of Commerce's Board of Directors, where again, he donates his free time and skills in service to the good of the community. You will see Charlie watering flower pots along Central Avenue in the spring and summer, setting up skate ramps at Music in the Park, Pony Express Days Festival, and the Worldwide Day of Play. Also putting up the Christmas tree lights at the Safeway Shopping Center. Charlie is driven to provide positive opportunities for youth and families in the community. He loves outdoor opportunities available to the community here and the heart of the people who work to bring out the best of those opportunities and to enjoy the outdoors. Charlie is excited about the coming developments of the community forest and the BMX track and park, and looks forward to seeing the skate park at Pearson Park come to fruition as well. It's been a great pleasure getting to know and work with Charlie over the last many years. His effort and willingness to support projects in service to the health and well-being of the community are testament to his role as a community builder. And with that being said, I'd like to give Charlie this nice little plaque. I'll invite all of you to say some words and Charlie to say some words.
We're not gonna. I don't know, you guys want to go over there?
I thought they told us to.
Yeah.
A mask? Mask banditos here. Okay, well, I guess now we got to bring it back to the board for comments. Who has, oh, Charlie's going to speak. Okay.
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure working with McKinleyville Service District. I mean, we had a rough beginning.
At least with some of us.
But you know, it's all of our perseverance and all of our families and all of our youth that it's the heart of all of us here in this community. So I appreciate all of you and everything you do. I'm extremely excited that we got the huge grant for the BMX track. I mean, that is such an awesome thing to be able to move forward with a project like that. So anyway, and that is part of all the hard work that you guys do, not only for the service district, but the recreation side. So thank you very much. And thanks for this too.
I'll bring it. Great.
Yeah, Charlie, I'd just like to congratulate you on getting that award. I know that a lot goes into it. I know that behind the scenes when staff is considering who they're going to give it to, and I can't think of anybody at this point in time that deserves it more than you do. I just also like to commend you on I know that at first the relationship between the skate park coalition and the board of directors in McKinleyville wasn't the best, but I think we've all grown into a very good family, and yeah, and it just and watching you mature in this position that you're in now, and being able to maneuver through the crap that goes on when you're dealing with the government. You're doing a great job. So anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I echo what he said, Charlie. Nobody else but a few of us know kind of the bumps, how bumpy some things were in the beginning, but it was never you, ever. Some of the well, no, I don't mean that like it was the board either. There were folks in the group, and there are folks in many groups that come, they want something, they come and they don't have a real idea how technical it is, how hard it is, all the stuff you have to do and the time you have to put into it. They want it right now, and you're an SOB if you don't do what I tell you right now. And so there was some of that went on. It's not just with this particular effort, but we see that in lots of things at times at a board level. Cities see it, county sees it, okay. So that's why I said those little bumps in the beginning had nothing to do with you at all. You've been a stand-up proponent and activist for this from day one. And so I just wanted you, and I think you know that's how we feel. And sometime, I don't know, after the first kind of rough patches that we had, I bumped into you over here several times. Watching you on your own, putting all this stuff together all by yourself, and spending time with these kids all by yourself, and then tearing it all down by yourself over and over and over and over again. And I went, my God, now that's, and because of that, I think more than anything, that desire you had to do things, do it right, and to be a difference, that's what made this thing really gel throughout the whole community. Sometimes it does take just one person to make something happen, and I think in this instance, although there was lots of people, it wouldn't have happened without you. So good on you, brother.
Hi, congratulations, Charlie. It's been a pleasure to serve with you on both the RAC and the Park Committee, has got renamed, and watching you go forth with your efforts for the skate park and the BMX track. What most impresses me about you is that I've seen you overcome obstacles, overcome disappointment with a wonderful attitude, and those types of attitudes are very contagious. And bringing that forth, letting people see your positivity is worth a lot. So thanks for that, keep doing that, and we'll see what happens down the road for you at the skate park.
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations, Charlie, long before I was on the board, long before I lived in McKinleyville. I always heard your name, and skating was always in the sentence. And I really appreciate you on behalf of all of my husband and his friends who skate. Thank you for continuing to fight this good fight and to see it through in our lifetime. Thank you so much. Dedication's awesome.
Even though you have ruined pony sales.
Well, I was going to say, I want to recognize your volunteerism, because you've been on the Parks and Recreation, or whatever the name of the committee is now, for 10 years. You were on it back when I was on it as a board. And that's a great time of, volunteering time for the district. I think I remember when you were chairing it, even when I was a board member, board advisor to the board. So thank you for your volunteerism. It's a great chance to recognize somebody for that. Thank you.
Yeah, good on you, brother.
Wanted to say a couple things.
Oh, and public comment.
So I am on our Parks and Rec staff.
and I'm also currently the chair again for the Chamber of Commerce Board, so I get to share lots of connections with Charlie. And he is always like, yes, he's a yes man. If we're like, we need help with whatever it is, he figures it out. I can't even tell you how many issues we had with the golf cart this summer that he's just like basically rebuilt so that we can water the flowers. And so I get to see both sides. I get to see he brings out the ramps for our kids for our summer camp without just totally just because he wants to teach kids how to skate. But yeah, his volunteerism just for McKinleyville in general is really heartwarming and really awesome. And I'm so glad that I get to work with him in multiple ways.
Went from the Zoomiverse.
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
Well, we'll move on to item 8.3 now.
Just a whole bunch of feel-good stuff.
Thank you, guys.
We got the MCSD Employee of the Year presentation to Joseph Blaine, Pat Kasperi, General Manager. Who's this Joseph guy?
Crazy.
I was like, who's that?
Thank you, President Couch. So each year, McKinleyville Community Services District employees vote for the Employee of the Year. This award and recognition were started by Norman Chopé in 2009, and previous awardees are Sharon Dennison in 2009, Tony Rutten 2010, James Henry 2011, Leslie Frisbee 2012, Bill McBroom 2013, Dave Balliser 2014, Diane Sloan 2015, Chris Jones 2016, Jennifer Olson 2017, Eric Jones 2018, Kyle Stone 2019, and Drew Small 2020. And I want to point out that the vast majority of the people on that list still work for the district, so it goes to show how great a staff we have. The Employee of the Year is a person who has brought about significant positive change, eliminates obstacles in achieving district goals and objectives, is resourceful, contributes constructively, is innovative, exceeds expectations, inspires others, proactively identifies and resolves challenges, and the Employee of the Year is chosen through a secret ballot by their peers as judged upon merit. The 2021 Employee of the Year award goes to Joseph Blaine, better known as Joey. And Joey is very much appreciated and admired by his peers. And throughout the 2021 year, Joey has really stepped up in many ways, including taking on the IT role to create a smooth Zoom and hybrid experience at the board meetings, learning the accounts payable process after a changing of staff, and implementing new technology programs at the district, including a new phone system that has saved the district thousands each month since its implementation. He's always ready to give a helping hand and is patient in teaching new things to other coworkers, especially those who may not understand the new technology very well. Joey greets every customer with a smile and quickly learns their name and gives a personal touch to each interaction. Joey will hold this distinction for the 2022 calendar year with a new Employee of the Year crown at the end of 2022. It's my pleasure to present this to Joey.
Congratulations.
It's weird having to put the camera on myself. Thank you very much.
Seriously?
Do you want everybody to do that again, or are we good?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, I want to tell my hair.
Yeah, we get 2 photo ops in one.
Over here, so it works.
Yeah, I ironed my shirt today.
Yeah. You guys got.
On 3. 1, 2.
Oh, I made sure to get it without that.
Yes, we'll rock it out.
Okay. Exactly.
Now, the dog park is smart.
Is that a taking away from the employee?
Never seen that idea.
Oh, referee.
Well, all right, let's see. Am I supposed to open it to the public? Anybody? Back to the board. Well, seeing no public, we'll bring it to the board.
You're the first one.
Okay. Give the board, public, Zoomiverse, everybody a chance.
Maybe let staff go first.
Staff first, okay.
I always thought the Employee of the Year, list of things that you should do to get this award was rather daunting, but the blunt and inescapable fact is that Joey managed to do all of those things in 2021. I'm incredibly proud of him. He stepped up in a lot of ways. And there's just one other particular talent that I would like to highlight, although the staff note did kind of catch it. Not everyone who can teach what they can do. That's actually a skill in itself, and it's a talent of its own. And Joey happens to be one of those people who can both do and teach. He can break down what he does and explain it to other people. So, and that has become the more tech role he takes on, the more important that particular skill set becomes. I just want to say, in addition to all the other things, I wanted to really take a moment to appreciate that, to appreciate your work this year.
Thank you.
I wanted to just say that, like, when we had to close down and we did everything through Zoom, I was trying to hold it all together, and then I got Zoom bombed. And I was so glad that Joey was around to help out after that and help with all of this hybrid stuff that we've been doing, because I know I could not do all of this and try to take the minutes at the same time. So I'm just very thankful and grateful that you are here doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll bring it back to the board.
Okay, so anyway, Joe, I've known you since the day you started working at the district, and then I ended up getting that office right outside the window where you work. And one of the things that is to tell about Joey and how dedicated he is. And I'm just going to bring Dave up because I think that Dave was your inspiration for this. But Dave has the ability to know everybody in McKinleyville's name. And I remember Joey, and I remember
their phone number.
And their phone number. And I remember Joey saying one day that he hoped that someday he could emulate that and be able to do that. And that was a tell for me that Joey really cared about his job and what kind of person Joey is deep down inside. And I don't think there's ever been a time when Joey's been asked to do something to where he wouldn't do it. And there were many times when Joey wasn't asked to do something and he said, I will be the guy that do it. So that's just kind of Joey's character and stuff like that. And congratulations, Joey. You definitely earned this award.
Thank you, Greg.
And he greets me by my name whenever I come in and pay my bills.
Well, you have so many lovely attributes, Joey. Although I wish your dog was here to celebrate.
I know, she's mad at me in the car.
Is Pearl in the car?
She is.
Mine in the car, let's throw them in together.
She'd eat them alive.
She'd be cute in the picture, but yes, that was neat to read more about what you've done. I really admire how you saved the district money with the phone system. And yeah, I love just how efficient or how you eyeballed that and noticed it and saved money on top of it. It's even better. So
thank you.
That makes me think you're paying attention and wanting to improve things. And I thought it would be neat in the future to think about how you were part of leveling up the district with technology. Now it's maybe commonplace, but in the future will be part of a story of how the world changed, and you'll get to tell your grandkids or something. So yeah, really appreciate all the different roles you're playing, and nice to be getting to know you.
Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations on that. You sure wear a lot of hats around here. I remember one time when I was at home, I was gonna phone in my bill, pay over the credit card. And I thought it'd be fun to call up and just give a big old anonymous rant about how high the water bill is and blah, 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 to whoever was on the other end before identifying myself as board director. But you answered the phone. Director Bender, how may I help you? Blew my
Damn caller ID, huh?
Anyway, I sure appreciate how much you do. I saw you out there at the wastewater treatment center with the camera, for the dedication of the solar microarray, as well as you doing what you're doing now with the hybrid meetings, plus outstanding service you do as a CSR front end of the district. And keep doing that. You're a pretty valuable guy, and it's always convenient to bring in a check and just hand it to you at a board meeting too. All right, keep doing that.
Thank you very much.
You remember them first few days when you started?
I do.
Yeah, I do too. It was funny. I mean, it's like night and day now. Is that same goofy little guy,
Shy, nervous, and now I don't stop talking.
It's great to see I've been real lucky to be here enough time to have seen that with us other employees that have come on. This is a place where people grow. They really do grow here. It's cool. But I was thinking when you were talking about being him, not only knowing what he's doing, but being able to teach it, and I was kind of scratching my head about that. If he can teach, he knows what he's doing, and he can teach people. What does that say about me? I must be the biggest Luddite in the damn world. You can't teach me nothing about this.
You'd be willing to learn.
I am. I'm always willing. I'll try. Man, I'll try. But the minute you say, now just do this and then go do that, that's when I'm gone. I can't. So I appreciate it. There was no way I could have done these Zooms without you. And, and I've told you this many times when we were on the phone. I said, I don't know how you do this, dude. Thanks. And I guess it's just a box of tools that you know how to use.
I tell everyone that I used to break the computer enough times before my parents would wake up in the morning that I'd had to learn how to fix it before they do it. And so I learned how to fix a lot of things.
Right.
Stay out of trouble.
Well, it's been really cool to watch
benefited.
your development here at the district and how beneficial you've become to us. And on a personal note, I really appreciate you going the extra. I know it was frustrating to get me online, but I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, I was just going to add on to what everyone else said. Our last meeting, was it, you weren't here last meeting, right?
I was not here last meeting.
You were vacationing in Hawaii or something?
I was on a beach in Maui during the meeting.
Okay, so congratulations on that. And
thank you.
it wasn't quite as smooth without you
thank you for not
here,
bringing
but it was pretty close. But you're the masters. Thank you for all you do.
Certainly. Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on to E4, which is approved FY 2021 audited financial statements. Staff recommends that the board listen to the auditor's presentation and review the information provided, discuss, take public comment, and approve the FY 2021 audit financial statements for the recommendation of the audit committee. That's Colleen. Someone else, I'm sure.
I was gonna say, and it's not only myself, it is Chris Brown, our managing partner our overseeing partner at FEDAC and Brown, our auditors, and He's going to walk the full board through all the, well, maybe not all the gory details, but enough details where it makes some sense.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Can you see me and hear me okay? Number one.
Yep.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, yeah, once again, my name is Christopher Brown with Fedak and Brown. I'm going to go over the results of the 2021 audit, and I see that the PowerPoint is up, and I assume I'll just go ahead and direct whoever, maybe it's Joey that's doing this, I'm not quite sure, but okay. Go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. All right, as I traditionally point out in my presentations, I want to let the board know that the audit was performed in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. Those are basically the guidelines, the rules that the auditor follows when performing an audit. And included in those guidelines are basically, indicates that you're supposed to assess the district's internal controls, which we do as part of our interim field work. Basically, what we're doing is we're looking at the various cycles within your system and testing them on a transactional basis. And from that, we design our audit programs for when we're looking at the final year-end numbers. The next bullet item that you see there is agree balances to supporting documentation. It's just that very same thing. We're applying those test procedures that we developed in our internal control testing. We're applying them to the final balances, such as, tying the cash into the cash reconciliations, your receivables into the underlying documentation, your capital assets, your CSD, but a lot of it has to do with construction projects and such. So basically, we're tying all the numbers into the supporting documentation. In addition to that, we're performing analysis on the key relationships within the financial statements themselves to ensure that the ratios make sense. And if we have any inquiry, we will do so of management. Okay, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So there are two documents that come out of the audit, one being the financial statement itself and the other one being the management report. Within the financial statements is the auditor's opinion. It's up towards the front. And what you see here is a paragraph that's been taken out of it. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. And it says that, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respect the financial position of the McKinleyville Community Services District as of June 30th, 2021. I'm hearing a little feedback. I don't know if that's bothering you guys or not. Is it everything okay on that end?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay, here.
Okay, perfect. So as you see on the bullet point, we're providing you with an unmodified or a clean opinion. So congratulations on that. Okay. Go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. Okay, so the other document I referred to is the management report. And it's the auditor's communication to you, the board of directors. You are our boss. You're the one who really hires us. It's to you that we report. It's your best interest that we have in mind when we're conducting our procedures and, of course, who we report to. And I'm happy to say that we did not identify material weakness within the district's internal control structure as part of our testing procedures. So congratulations on that as well. Okay. I'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Okay, so what you see here is some of the things that we went over during the meeting prior to this. I'll call it the Finance Committee meeting, just kind of some of the highlights, and we'll follow up more on this later in the presentation, but kind of the big picture. Of course, the organization is broken up into governmental funds and enterprise funds. Governmental funds being, of course, your general fund, your parks and rec and such. Enterprise being water, things like that. But we saw a decrease in net position in the governmental funds of approximately 325,000. And we saw an increase in net position on the enterprise fund side of 3.059 million. That's the increase from the prior year. So positive results there. Other items that we had gone over during that previous meeting, there again, I'll call it the Finance Committee meeting, is we kind of talked about pension and OPEB liabilities. And you can see that the OPEB liability increased approximately 1.4 million to that 10,085. The pension liability increased approximately 197,000 to that 2.99 million. So those kind of like the big picture items there. And then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next slide. So what you see here is actually included in the financial statement itself. It's the condensed statement of net position. And this is a very high level look at your assets and your liabilities and your net position. It's broken out between years, and there again, looking at governmental activities and business type activities and the total district. And I went ahead and plugged in that change there at the end. So it's easier to reference to. But we can see total assets increased approximately 2.8 million. The big change there is in the current assets area, went up approximately 2.785 million. I did a little math. I looked into some of the support, and it appears that what made up a good portion of that 2.785 million was increase of cash of approximately 1.3 million and another 1.3 approximately in receivables. Capital assets pretty flat across from prior year. Deferred outflows of resources is related to both OPEB and pension obligations. And probably the simplest way to explain it is these are amounts that will be applied to those liabilities next year. Okay, it's kind of like a holding area for that, for those payments that were made. Working our way down, we can see that total liabilities went up approximately 944,000. The biggest movement we see there is non-current liabilities. Non-current liabilities are long-term in nature. So that's going to be like your debt. And that is actually where your OPEB liability and your pension liability is there. As I previously mentioned, we saw an increase in both of those liabilities from the prior year, made up the majority of that increase. Deferred inflows of resources, again, related to your pension and OPEB liabilities. This actually kind of has the opposite effect. This will actually make your liability go up in the next year. And it is primarily comprised of adjustments made by the actuaries. It's what makes a big portion of that. You really don't have a lot of input into what that number is. There again, it's actuarially determined. The last section you see there is net position, and essentially represents net worth. It's your assets minus your liabilities. And we can see that if we're looking at the bottom right-hand corner, total net position in that change column, it went up $2,734,321. That's essentially, I'll call it your net income or your change in net position. What I like to see when I'm doing an analysis, and I pointed this out at the Finance Committee meeting, is positive movement in the unrestricted net position, in which we do see. And what that tells me when looking at a long-term analysis, year to year, these things go up and down. But when we see increase in that number over the long term, it tends to mean that there's a good job being done as far as the budgeting, your revenues matching your expenses. It gives us a good warm feeling to see the positive movement in that. It also allows you to budget for your reserves better, as opposed to seeing declining unrestricted amounts from year to year. Okay, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Go ahead and advance to the next slide. There you go.
Is there?
Oh, yeah, that's quite all right. So what we see here is a narrative of the table that I'm going to show you in just a moment. There's another table that's going to go over the revenues and expenses, and here's just the narrative of it. There again, net position increased 2.7 million to that 33,787,000 as a result of ongoing operations. Total revenues increased by 587,000 to that 11,388,000. Revenues are broken up into two categories, being program revenues, general revenues. Program revenues being what you do for a living, basic operations and such. General revenues being things like taxes and things like that. But we see program revenues increased 943,000, due primarily to increases of 708,000 in capital grants, contributions, 543,000 in charges for services, which were offset by a decrease of 308,000 in operating grants and contributions as compared to the prior year. General revenues, there again, that's like taxes and other things, decreased 356,000, primarily due to a 359,000 decrease in investment earnings. I had noted to the committee the last meeting that we're seeing this across all our clients, that, you know, with reduced interest rates, we're seeing reduced returns on those investments. So this is, it's not unusual, it's unfortunate, but it's not unusual. Total expenses increased to 179,000, due primarily to increases of 161,000 in the wastewater fund expense and 116,000 in the water fund expense, offset by a decrease of 97,000 in general parks and recreation expense. Okay, so I just dragged you through a lot of numbers there. Let's go to the next slide so you can actually see it. I'm a more of a visual person myself. There we go. Okay, so here's the visual representation of what we just went over. This is called the condensed statement of activities. It's your profit and loss statement, essentially. There again, big picture, change from the prior year. I'm looking at total revenues in that far right column. Went up approximately 587,000, comprised of total program revenues went up about 943. And we already went over the contributing factors. General revenues, that kind of that center area there, the big one there, of course, the investment earnings that we just talked about. Looking at expenses, again, you can see that general parks and rec, we saw the decrease of approximately 97,000. What we're seeing across the board for all our CSDs is with COVID, there's been reduced booking of facilities and such, and we're seeing that kind of trend across the board. Positive results in both water and wastewater. Change in net position, looks like went up approximately 408,000 from the prior year. Bottom line, once again, getting back to, again, the very bottom line, far right column, change in net position of 2,734,321. So those are the numbers. You've probably had a chance to take a look at them. If you have any questions, please let me know. But kind of in summary, we were able to provide you with a unmodified opinion, so congratulations on that. We did not identify material weakness. Congratulations on that as well. And you can see for yourself the results of your operations were positive as well. So that is, in essence, my presentation to you. I think things went well, and I think everybody involved, Colleen, her staff, Pat, everybody involved, I think everybody did a fantastic job. And I know he's not here right now, but my own guy, Andy Beck, you have a real good auditor on your team there. He is top notch, and I just wanted on the record that I think he did a fantastic job. And there, of course, everybody at the district makes it so much easier. They respond so well and so timely. So thank you so much. And that's pretty much my presentation.
Thank you. Staff comments?
Thanks, Chris, and I couldn't agree more. Andy is a really good auditor. He's very good with his testing, his sampling. He's really good at getting us the list of documentation that he needs, about what he needs. All of those things make the audit go a lot more smoothly than it otherwise might. So questions for Chris while he's got all the numbers?
I had kind of a general question on our OPEB and PERS. Are we comparable to other agencies? Are we, I mean, you know, everybody just goes, oh God, this is terrible, but are we like right in line with everyone else? Are we good or?
Yeah, you're very comparable with many other agencies, similar in size and age. OPEB is the big one. Maybe you're a little bit higher than some of ours, but there again, it's really dependent on the number of employees and when the program was put in place. But you're very comparable, yes.
Thank you.
Also, the OPEB, the OPEB right now is calculated using the treasury, the discount rate for the treasuries, which is like the lowest possible rate you can possibly use. And so it makes the debt look really, really large. Once we get that, some of that reserve moved into a Section 115 trust, and we get the trust invested, it'll be the rate of return of the investment portfolio, not necessarily, which should be at least a little bit higher than the treasury bills. It won't be a lot higher because, you know, we're not going to go invest in really scary, risky things, but it'll be a little higher, and that'll actually make that that 10 million look. I mean, it'll make that smaller because we're using a more realistic discount rate than just U.S. Treasuries.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to?
I guess we need.
Is the audit committee?
Well, I don't. I mean, you got one? Okay, I'll let you.
So anyway, as being on the audit committee, I would just like to thank staff and also our auditors, Chris and Andy, and the other person that came and helped Andy with when he came to the office. I can't remember what his name is.
Jeff Palmer.
Okay,
Jeff
yeah,
Palmer.
Jeff, that's right. Yeah, thank you. Sorry that I forgot Jeff's name, but anyway, great to work with. I was also interviewed by Andy and Jeff while they were there as a board member, and did a very good job. And so I think that we've got a great relationship with FDEC and Brown, and I just would like to I hope that we can continue this relationship, and I very much enjoyed working with both staff and also our auditor on this audit as a part of the audit committee. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's see. I think I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Director Bender?
Aye.
Director Clark Peterson?
Aye.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
Director Orsini?
Yes.
And President Trump.
Aye.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Happy New Year's.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year's to everybody.
Right, next on the agenda is E5, just consider approval policy revision to accommodate State Water Resources Control Board reimbursement for unpaid water bills upon end of the governor's non-lock order and the resumption of regular non-payment lock process. Colleen.
Now the fun part. As the board is aware, Governor Newsom signed his executive order N-42-20 on April 2nd, 2020, suspending a water system's ability to discontinue water service to residents for non-payment. This executive order was extended to December 31st, 2021. So that has not been extended again. I'm not going to just read the whole thing. You guys can all read it, but he did not extend it again, so we could begin blocking customers as early as this month. However, don't worry, we won't. We will give them lots of notice and run through that process in a minute. In April 2020, we made the decision to eliminate the actual non-payment locks per the directive, but we continue the lock process because we always have that group of customers who normally pay from the friendly reminders. They wait until they get the phone call, or they wait until they get the door hanger, and then they pay their whatever. So we kept doing that, and the customers who paid on those reminders continued to pay. And so when we actually submitted the reimbursement request to the state, it was surprisingly small, because we'd given them an offer. We hadn't just suspended all collection operations. We're just like, well, okay. So the only locks we did during the pandemic were for what we call abandonment of service, which is where a customer moves out, fail to pay their bill, there's no activity on the account, there's no water going through the meter, and then we actually have people go out and look, see if anyone's there, and then we'll shut it off. So we had a few of those, not too many, but that was also helpful. So the state went ahead and did their water and wastewater arrearage payment program. The Community Water Systems completed a survey listing the residential and commercial arrearages that have been accruing from March 2020 to June 2021. And the program is supposed to provide one-time payment to the water system's benefits directly to the specific customers on the list as credits to their account. So the State Water Board managed to not only have sufficient funds to reimburse everybody, all different water systems that applied, they also ended up having enough to cover wastewater system arrearages as well, which is a really good thing. So far, we did a little webinar with them, yesterday? They have just categorically stated that they're not looking at doing a reimbursement for the July to December of 2021 moratorium yet. They may look at it in the future, but right now they're not even going there. They're just trying to get the water and the wastewater for 2020, March 2020 through June 2021. So we applied for a total of $47,746.22 in water only. When we get the chance, we will apply to them for the unpaid wastewater, which is only $25,606.74. So we, one of the things we did was we withdrew the accounts. 52 individual accounts had been sent to collections. We withdrew them from collections and reinstated them as active accounts in our system, and at the request of the state board, they said, we will not give you money if you send these guys to collections. So we just took them back. It wasn't really, it was a bit tedious. Thanks, Joey. That was another process well done. But we got them all back. We got them all reactivated in the system. We've posted the check finally showed up. The check showed up at the very tail end of December. So the state reimbursed us the entire amount. We posted those to the customers' accounts exactly as specified. For the 52 accounts that were closed, those are the ones that had been sent to collections. We reopened the accounts, put the credit on the account, and then took that credit and set it against the district's bad debt, which is where their balance had gone. So we have PDF records of the registers posting that. We will provide those to the state. It shows that we did exactly what we told them that we were going to do, and that's what they want. So it should be auditable at every level. So now we're going to start up normal life again. And that means we're not going to start locking people in January. We're going to start the system from kind of a zero basis. January, February, we'll lock people in March. But what we are going to do is notify people and let them know.
And that's going forward from January 1, 22, or so how are we going to deal with that for 21?
And that is basically the question. The state has not indicated that they're going to offer any relief for unpaid water bills from July of 2021 through December. So we have some people, a very few, but some, with pretty significant balances because they didn't have to pay. So what we're going to do is offer them extended terms for amortization. We'll spread those bills out over, depending on the size of the balance. 12 months is a normal amortization, but we can go, I'm willing to go as far as 24, even 36 months, depending on, for those few customers who really have a big balance. The fact is, if the state isn't going to provide any relief for that, the customers actually have to pay for their water. And we'll work with them. We don't have a fund where we can pay for customers who didn't pay. And that's partly because you can't use, legally, you can't use some customers who did pay to subsidize other customers who didn't pay. And that's just the way that the rates are dictated by the state of California. We can't really do anything else.
There was some talk in the negotiation on this previously that money was going to be perhaps allowed to do that type of mechanism. I guess they decided finally not to. But did they give us, and I'm sure the answer to this is no, any guidance on not trying to recover from on the 21 parts like they told us we shouldn't have done on the 20 so that we don't do it and then have to go back and pull it back? Do you have any idea about that?
We not only haven't heard from them, but at least according to that webinar, they're not even going to talk to us about it.
And this is a swag, I don't expect you to be, but do you have any idea what the dollar amount somewhere in the ballpark might be for the arrearages of 21?
For July to December. Joey, do you have a ballpark? I surely don't.
Are we talking thousands or tens of thousands?
I don't know, the whole, maybe low tens of them.
Oh, so it's higher, okay, so.
It's not going to be huge because the entirety of March 2020 to June 2021, which is your quarter, was less than $50,000. So we
Well, that's a lot of money. I was thinking if it was under like $10,000 or something, maybe we should just forget about it until we know. Instead of going to arrearages or something. But
if we get more information from the state, we'll bring it back. So right now they're just going, no, we're not even going to talk about it.
Okay, so let me be clear one more time, and I know you were clear. I forgot. The money that is in arrearages for 21 is not what we're talking about for starting January 1 for the 3 months and then start, okay? What's our process for that gonna be, or do you have you thought that out yet?
So for the July to December folks,
21.
yeah, for the latter half of
Yeah.
21, because the first half got covered. It's just the last half that didn't. Right now, what we want to do is is get them to call us, get them to get in touch with us. So, letters, phone calls, hangers, that's going to be the first effort. But they are, right now, they are legally responsible for paying those water bills, but they need to get in touch with us so we can set up a program, a longer payback period.
Right.
So that it doesn't bury them.
And I know you won't, not to be absolutely specific on this either, but is it the same people from 20 till July 21? That group?
There's probably some overlap, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't see that as being. There's probably some not overlap too. There's always some overlap because it's usually the same people. But basically what we're trying to do is have them contact us so we can set up a payment.
Well, thank you. I just, yeah, was curious.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, are we done with your presentation, or are we still, or do you still got a little bit more to go? Oh, wait.
Pretty much, it's listing, the list of stuff is basically what I was just talking about.
Okay.
So
So question one is, are you guys okay with 36 months? That's an awful long time, but.
I think we're gonna have to do that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Start like with 12, start with 12, and if they don't like 12, 24, and then if 24 fails, then go to 36. Okay.
Well, like Joey said, if their balance is under $500, then they can probably do it in 12 months and it won't be a big deal. If their balance is $1,500 or $2,000 or something really significant, then, and that's only gonna be a handful of customers that have that issue. But then we'll have to work with them on a case-by-case basis to get that water bill paid. And of course, when we put them on an amortization, the level of communication between the customer and the district goes up a notch. Because customers on an amort get more phone calls than like other customers.
Well, that was my concern, is not to burden somebody with something that that they don't have any issue, or no potential that they're ever going to be able to pay it back. But also the thing is that if you prolong this for three years, that then puts then staff's attached to that person pretty much through that whole period of time. So it would be my intention to have that in your toolkit, but to use it judiciously in as little as possible. But I would definitely want to go on the record as saying that I think that it's an injustice to allow people to let their bills get to the point to where they're unmanageable for them, or no realistic expectation that they're going to be able to pay them back. So I think that it's incumbent upon staff to make it a priority to start pestering these people now, if we aren't already. And then one other point I had, or one idea that I had, and it was something that seemed to work pretty good, but its use will be kind of limited, and that would be using property tax liens. And I didn't see it in here, and I thought that maybe that would be something that might be very useful, because we've used it before as opposed to sending them to collections. But that only works for, of course, people that are property owners. So, but I would highly recommend, as 1/5 that we also put that in our toolkit to be able to use.
It's actually still in our toolkit. It's just that the folks the list of people, the 116 people that weren't paying were all renters.
Okay.
So, yeah, we always have for a property owner, we always have and will absolutely use, if we have one that was not paying their water bill, we'll go ahead and that's absolutely an option. And we have used it before and used it successfully.
Well, I thought it might be applicable to put it in this language here, but if you don't think that it's necessary, then.
Well, it's.
Because we can make a modification to this and approve it.
Yeah, I'm totally open to that idea too, for sure, but it's always been part of the toolkit, we just haven't had to use it with this particular group, because they were all renters.
Like I said, if you don't think it's necessary, then we can just forget it. That's all I had, thank you.
Thanks, Fran. Okay, I think that's all I have. Other comments, questions, and discussion? We'll keep you guys updated with whatever the State Water Board, whenever they get us more information.
Yeah, there's a lot of people worked for a long time on this, to make this happen. So the money was coming from Uncle Sugar, and it was just a matter of us peons getting it.
I figured when he didn't need to do it for the recall, that he would decide not to do that.
A lot of it went to things that I won't put my political opinion on right here, but.
So anyway, barring any other comments by the public or by the board, I'll move that recommendation.
Right, we're ready.
Director Bender? Aye. Director Clark-Peterson?
Aye.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
Director Orsini?
Aye.
Madam President Couch?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Right, next we have E6, which is discuss strategic plan review process and timeline and consider possible board retreat.
And since this is a informational item, I'm gonna diverge from the staff note because I don't think I did a very good job writing up the staff note. So the intent of this item was to really come back to the board and ask if you wanted to do a board retreat. It was mentioned in some of the board comments in your last review. And so, you know, there's the questions at the bottom. Do you want to do a board retreat? If you do, when would you want to do it? And for how long? Do you want to do a full day one? Do you want to just meet for lunch? Do you want to do a half day? If you are discussing board business, it has to be within McKinleyville. So I don't know if there's a specific location you would want. Director Frisbee had facilitated the last board retreat, and she's willing, and if you guys are interested in having her do it. And then the last thing is topics. And so one of the topics that you could talk about is the strategic plan. You know, I don't think we would expect that the board would rewrite the strategic plan in a board retreat, but just to revisit it, and staff would put together a status update of where the various goals and tasks stand, and then you guys could discuss, you know, the ones that aren't moving forward. Is this something that the board, the district really needs? Are there other goals that aren't in there that should be? So, you know, if you want to do a board retreat, and if you want to discuss a strategic plan, you know, that we put together that package for you. If you don't want to do a board retreat, or you do want to do a board retreat and you don't want to discuss the strategic plan would come back to the board with a staff update of where the various tasks are, etc. So I don't think I did a very good job. This emphasizes the strategic plan, but the real question is, does the board want to do a board retreat? And if so, what's that? So I'm going to quit there.
I think you did a good job of explaining it, or explaining it.
Okay, who's got any comments? Greg?
Yeah, I got something to say.
Okay.
So my opinion is I'm completely open to a board retreat if it's pleasure of the rest of the board. think that it would be valuable for us to do that. I don't know so much about mucking about in the strategic plan, since we did such an excellent job of doing that before, but it might be important to maybe update the values a little bit, since the majority of the board is different now. I could see us getting into that, but but I definitely would like, for the purposes of being able to gauge where we're at in the business of the district, find out where we're at in the strategic plan, and where we might have difficulties or gaps in the expectations that the board had put on that. So I definitely would like to cover that without a doubt, whether we do the retreat or not. I definitely would like to see that. But as I said, Leslie, do you recall what it took us? What was the process when we did the strategic plan originally? Just like, you remember? It was more than just a couple hours.
You really want me to tell you what my memory of it?
Yeah.
We started with hiring a consultant who came in and did a SWOT analysis with staff and leadership.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there were a few sort of meetings that went nowhere with the consultant. And then the cabinet and myself went through things and put together what exists now, and it took 6 months or something, 8 months.
Yeah, and then we, but the board, but a lot of what's in the strategic plan, as far as the tasks and things, in all the mission and vision and values and stuff like that, was all board action, and I was trying to get to.
So the mission came before the values, and that was done previously, like 5 years prior, with a different consultant. And then it was reviewed and language was added to it in this next iteration.
Mm-hmm.
The values came between those two at a board retreat, where they focused on developing shared values.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I led, and then they just got put into this iteration of the strategic plan.
But kind of, do you recall how long it took the board, when you had the board here?
When we did the board retreat?
Yeah, when we did the board.
It was an all-day retreat. The first half of it was just, and then that was doing getting the board to think about and identify values, and then I took that information and that's it. And it came back, I think, to 2 more board meetings where it was more fine-tuned and decided upon.
So we had multiple hours, 10,
Yeah, you're
15
probably
hours
looking at
of board.
6 to 10 hours of board work on just that.
That's kind of what I had thought. So that's kind of why, if it's not broke, I don't know that we need to fix it. But like I said, I think it's up to the board. Separate from a retreat, I think that we could find something to have a retreat about.
Lunch.
Yeah, as long as there's lunch involved.
Yeah.
And
Dennis?
treats.
Yeah, so, it could be 2 different things. We could have a retreat, and we could also have a, strategic plan exercise, which I think is necessary. Or it could be combined, and I think combined would be good. I would definitely suggest we do not need a consultant. I think Leslie has a great template that she worked off of that I would like, you might have changes or modifications of that. There's,
but after the last one, she might not want to do it anymore.
Well,
I believe she said she wanted to raise.
There was group dynamics that were good. This group is a new group. Actually, it's only Dave and I are the only ones still here from that. So it's a new group. and the group dynamics that develop from that is more meaningful than you really think it's going to be until you do it. There's a couple things that we had generated through the last year and a half, as we talked about, agenda items that came up there. Well, we need to review that and in the strategic plan. We need to, and we've done that several times over the year. Well, okay, that's a good idea. Let's put it on our tickler list, and we need to review that. And the best way to do that is in this kind of an environment where that's what we're focusing on. One of them that's a big deal is, and we've got to come together as a group on how we want to approach this, is our rate structure for our park and recreation system. That's a big deal, and when we've got to all figure out, do we want to, you know, or not do we want to, how are we going to go back to the public and say, look, here's the nuts and bolts of this, and we're either gonna come up with a new rate structure, whether we do that again on a 218B or for our, is this our measure? We still have our measure B.
Yeah.
Okay, so, so that's stuff we need to talk about. And I think we need to talk about it so we're all there, one eye, you know, and because a lot of people aren't going to be happy with it. And like I told people when we talk about it throughout my day-to-day life and here too, I ain't happy with it either because I got a incredibly fixed income. On the other hand, do you want to bite the bullet or do you want to lose services? That's the choices. To me anyway. So getting off target here. I would suggest we do not need a consultant at all. I felt like that was a huge waste of time myself, but the exercises were interesting. Okay. And you're going to do that. You know, you do that as well as anybody, Leslie. Yeah. And and there are some necessary updates that we need to do in that strategic plan. And it's not like we're rewriting or creating a wheel again, but this is a board that doesn't know that whole process of that strategic plan. I think that's important. I think it needs to be an all-day.
Now keep in mind that in November, we could have more turnover again because.
And that doesn't preclude what I'm saying.
So I think that we need to be careful that every time there's that the strategic plan is going to live beyond people's terms on the board.
I understand that, and so that doesn't mean
because we can't put a 5-year plan together and then change it every 2 years. How's the board ever going to be able to?
Yeah, we can change it every month. Greg.
How's staff ever going to get anything accomplished?
I understand that, but we can change it every month, and we do in some respects by little anyway. And I understand your point, but that doesn't preclude the fact that that's not a deciding factor for me on whether we do or don't do it, because that's a consistent thing throughout this type of an entity anyway. Every couple of years, things are changing, so.
Yeah, I would just be careful though. My thing is thinking about staff and staff's ability or the message we're sending staff that we tell them that they've got 5 years to get something accomplished. And do they really take that serious if we're changing it every couple of years?
Well, how many years has it been since we've done this? 3 years?
2 years.
No, it's been longer than that.
The board retreat we hosted was 2017.
It'll be 3 years.
That was the values, and so this
17,
strategic
18,
plan
19,
came
20,
out
it's
in
been 4 years.
2018, the end of 2018.
It was
we
approved in
finished this.
2019.
Can I offer is it appropriate, inappropriate?
Sure.
A perspective? So the way this is laid out is you have your strategic goals and objectives, and they have actions and due dates for each of those actions. As staff, we should go through this and assess where we have hit the action dates or not. And then that can be presented to the board, and then that can foster a discussion, because as we all know, COVID put a wrinkle in a lot of things, like in particular the goals that pertain to Parks and Recreation, a lot of the actions that were planned were made impossible by COVID. And so it is maybe not, like, it could use revisiting and talking about, like, what are the actions to meet the goal. So it's not necessarily rewriting the strategic plan. It is reassessing and identifying new actions or different actions to take if we're not moving towards success. And so
Or maybe changing the due dates for those actions, because I looked through that was the thought that I had. I looked through this and I don't see anything that I want to take out of the strategic plan, to tell you the truth.
No, I don't think it was taken out, Greg. There were things so that we said, well, we need to add this.
But moving things around or changing priorities within the strategic plan, or just saying, staff, we understand that over the last couple of years, you guys have been busy with other things. So instead of this being done in 2020, which it didn't get done because of everything that was going on with COVID, we would like to see this get done in 2023 or something like that, you know? I'm completely amicable with that.
some things I think are mostly done, if not done, so
Yeah.
it's just.
And
then you
I
have an
think-
opportunity to set a new goal.
And I'm 100% supportive of your proposal, Leslie, and that's staff sitting down and bringing us back something that basically, so that we know where we're at, so that it's measurable and we can tell what's going on. Speak to, well, this is pie in the sky, or this is great when we thought about it, but it's no longer applicable, so we still need to do this. We didn't get it done because of all the COVID stuff. So we'd like to move this in the calendar forward. So I think that would be a great first
And it doesn't
discussion.
necessarily have to be so formal of a structure. It could be, an educational and informational get together for us too. Anyway, however the format, I don't know, but I think it'd be a good deal. And we've got a new GM too that would I think benefit from that kind of a.
Oh, no, I'm going. Just kidding.
It'll just be us and Leslie.
No,
Please, anything but that.
My sticky docs.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so exactly, Greg, what you were saying, that'll happen. Either staff put together where these things stand and the summary of those, that'll happen either going into this plan, so you'll have that.
Yeah.
Or if we decide we want to do it as a board item, totally separate.
Yeah, well, I like Leslie's concept is we have that ahead of time, and then we decide then what the because I think are we all cool with committing time to doing a retreat? Let's get an accounting on where we're at with the strategic plan, and then once we get that done, if the rest of the board agrees with me, then once we get that done, then we can talk about what we're going to do during the retreat and how we want to structure the retreat. I don't think it's good for us to structure a retreat without having this in hand and knowing where we're at.
Right, yeah, and that was our intent.
Yeah.
Was to give that to you in advance.
So on a more warm and fuzzy aspect of this, where could we go? People need to think about that. Whatever. Could we go to Merriman Beach House? Is that enough out of our sphere of
That's
influence?
outside the district. So if we are doing district work, we have to meet within the district, and it has to be advertised as a public meeting.
So our idea of going to Pat's house for this isn't going to work because he's outside the district.
Can't do that.
We go to your houses.
Yeah, we could have, huh?
Your house.
Yeah, my house.
Well, anyway, I don't think we have to decide that tonight, but I think everybody ought to think a little bit about, we met here last time, and, that's okay, but what's really beneficial in these things is the intimacy you develop in being able to, breaks down barriers and gets you to view and, everybody kind of being kind of in the.
Well, what do you think, more along like a conference room up at Holiday Inn or something like that, or?
I don't know,
I was gonna say Six Rivers Brewery, but maybe that's too,
No, yeah.
too relaxed.
Actually, I wanted to go to Bimbo, but we can't do that.
No, we can't do that. No, my first choice was Six Rivers, like on Monday when they're closed.
Well, they can accommodate.
We can do it on
Room
chicken
off
night
to the
there.
left as you walk in front door.
Oh, I don't think we have to decide that tonight. I just everybody think about it a little bit and shoot your ideas to Pat, maybe.
Design the lunch menu.
We're talking about a full day event.
One of our deals that we had was over here at the teen center.
Yeah, when we did the
That
Parks
was
and Rec thing.
kind of a night, that was kind of good, and now we got that great kitchen in there, we could have a barbecue for Christ's sakes. That'd be nice.
James.
Pork belly.
Watching my hair that day.
Pork belly,
My nails done.
pork belly sliders.
Okay, well,
Bender can cook the pork belly.
Heck, yeah.
No, I don't know, I just throw that out, the more I think about it, that's a pretty good spot, and that kitchen, I'd like us, we've never utilized that as a group, that'd be fun. And we could charge the public $10 a head to get in.
And I guess I'm thinking that, late spring, early summer type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could get a gap between Omicron and what's coming next, yeah, that would be good.
Okay, so staff will start to pull together plans.
Okay.
Let you know.
Well, let me first, we're kind of volunteering you. Are you willing to kind of ramrod that again?
It's one of my most favorite things to do, so yes.
Okay, so, okay, give me the $50 now. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that.
That just got recorded.
okay, we beat that enough? We're going,
so.
Got enough direction?
I think so. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Right, let's see. 7, it's committee assignments, oh boy.
Oh, Lordy.
You ready?
We're ready.
Okay, so, the board should discuss and consider various committee assignments that will be appointed by the board president and also delegate or designate committee chairs and co-chairs, as well as designate the board treasurer, who's currently Colleen, MR Trask, finance director. The board secretary, myself, is appointed by the general manager per the board policy. So Appendix A, which was attached, provides descriptions of the standing committees of the board. There are 2 ad hoc committees currently, the Community Forest Committee and the Latent Powers Committee. Additionally, there is the LAFCO, which is not listed in Appendix A because this is not a board president appointed committee, but is an elected position by LAFCO members. And so below you'll have the full list of who is currently on each committee. President Couch, before he became president, did ask people to notify him if they had wanted to change anything. And so I don't know if there has been any changes or anything since our last discussion on that one. Additionally, the board may consider amendments to the above list. Any amendments would need to be formalized in the board policy manual, which would occur at a subsequent board meeting. It's been suggested that the audit committee be reorganized as the audit and finance committee, and it be given duties to consider other district financial items, not just the audit. The Environmental Matters Committee came about in 2019 by combining 3 other standing committees that were not meeting regularly. That was the Water Task Force, the Ad Hoc No Drugs and Toxins Down the Drain, and the Groundwater Sustainability Committee. This committee has not met since its inception. Latent Powers Committee has not met formally in the past year, but has reviewed items that were discussed and agreed upon by the board in February of 2021. The only remaining latent power outlined in the committee's report that has not been addressed is the district's rules and regulations is law enforcement. So staff recommends that the board review and discuss Appendix A of the board policy manual regarding board direction for committee assignments, take public comment, and then the board president appoint committee assignments for 2022 calendar year.
Director Couch?
Back to me.
Ask a
Okay.
question?
All right.
Can I ask you? a
Yes.
question? Did you get my email this morning or yesterday morning about, Scott
did
and
not.
I think our names should be reversed on the senior center because Scott actually took over the chairing of that last spring or summer. I mean, the function's still there, but technically.
Okay, so that's, who's the board member, who's the alternate, or who's the committee member, who's the alternate?
So
Usual.
Scott is usually the primary.
Well, I'm the one who's been going to the senior center meeting, so.
Okay, well, that makes sense then. Okay. Dennis?
Yeah, and I was fine with all of the same stuff, except I wanted to just add, I don't know who's on the groundwater sustainability, if there was or wasn't. If that's a position that needs a body, I would be happy to do that.
I say Environmental Matters Committee.
Didn't hear you, Scott.
So that's the Environmental Matters Committee. That was one of the three committees
Combined,
that were
yeah.
combined to make that.
And Helen and John and I were like a triorca in the groundwater.
Yeah, when-
Sigma deal, and I'm pretty well versed in the Sigma, worked on
When
it.
the Eel River,
Aqua.
when the Eel River Basin was under
Yeah.
scrutiny.
Matter of fact, that was one of our main topics at the Board of Supervisors Tuesday. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but if there's a body needed there, I'm happy to do it. If not, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm willing to continue serving on the committees that I'm on right now. I think that one of the things that I think will need to be modified at some point, not necessarily now, but in the near future, will be the Community Forest Committee shouldn't be an ad hoc committee. That should be a standing committee. So I think that's one of the things we can make a modification of. I think that a lot of these committees that are like the ad hoc, the latent powers committee, I don't know that there's any need for us to continue with that anymore. I think, have we gotten all the, are we, no, we
There's
still,
still the law enforcement.
we still have the law enforcement,
Yeah.
but Pat, do you think it's necessary that we have a committee for that, or is there any more work that you think we're gonna
Well,
need?
once it's done, I think we should retire it too, Grant.
Okay.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Just keep it cleaner.
The Environmental Matters Committee, were there any meetings at all related to that? Did we have any meetings?
And the only one that we had some with the groundwater sustainability group, but that was, a lot of that's been done on the telephone, quite frankly.
Yeah, but I think that if the groundwater issues if the groundwater basins rear their ugly head again, we definitely want to be.
Well, it is, and there's a lot going on with it. One of the main reasons that John and I thought that we should be an absolute participant in that is that maybe not this year, next year, 5 years from now, but certainly state revolving fund money for certain types of projects. Any grant, there's a tickler list. If you do this, you get points on your score. If you're doing this, you get points on. If you have a basin plan, a certified basin plan, it might put you into a bailiwick where you're eligible to apply for funding of certain type. And that was our thought all along. Not that we aren't interested in it either. I'm not just trying to be completely mercenary about it. But if you're not at the table, you don't always get to eat.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's, talking about that specifically was the Eel River Basin Plan, when all that happened.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
That basically, that blazed the trail for us when they did the Mad River Basin Plan, and we got that shut down.
Right,
But that was because of everything that you guys did.
Well, and that was part of our hope. It turned out to be that way.
Yeah.
But why we still need to be a participant in that basin plan is, as grant monies become available for different things, and we want to buy into it, and it's a big 25 points you don't get because you're not participating in a basin plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I.
Yeah, no, and if the basin plan, if the Eel River Basin plans, they're still having meetings, I think
Oh,
we should
yeah.
definitely have
Yeah.
some representation on that.
Yeah, and that was my reason for saying I'm happy to function there if there's a body that needs. That's
And I'm definitely supportive of us modifying the audit committee to take on a little bit bigger scope and have it the audit and finance committee. So I'm very much supportive of that, and I would definitely like to stay on that committee. And the McMac, that one should be Orsini/Binder.
Yeah, it's just not on here.
Okay.
It lists you as primary and me as alternate at the county, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on the back here, just to get on.
Okay.
Okay.
And Scott, in this, it's good right now to give you a kudos and thank you for your computer technical stuff on that and keeping everybody in the public informed about that, and you know, that you're doing a good job, and I appreciate that.
That's all I had.
Okay.
So, one comment on Greg's comments. So the community forest ad hoc committee, as soon as we change it to a not an ad hoc committee, then we start to have to open it to the public and take meetings and all that too. So I would like a little bit of more time.
Oh, no, I get that. I just was bringing it up that at some point.
Someday.
Yeah.
I thought we had actually kind of decided that until we actually owned it, and we're going to actually start the planning process of developing a plan, that we weren't going to make that change until then. Am I correct?
I can't remember. Was that what I thought we were going to start having public?
Yeah, we were, I think a little bit before maybe we start
Yeah, but
actually on it,
we
but
can
not.
have public, we can have public come to meetings before we actually have a mandate to have it.
Right.
I didn't state that right, but I think you understand what I mean.
The public engagement scheduled to start real soon, according to what we've read.
Yeah, I would say that as soon as we start with the public engagement, we shift it from an ad hoc committee to a standing committee, because we're going to be staffing it with members of the public. So I think the minute we start,
eventually,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like a few months at least.
Yeah.
Before we have to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Revisit in March then.
Okay. Probably been taking notes of everybody here.
Thank you, April.
So, with everybody's comments, I think we'll just keep it like that, and nobody commented to me that they wanted a big change, and that we need Dennis for representation, groundwater stuff. I don't know, would you be that as a, I don't know how to loop you in the loop here.
Well, it's not a big deal. I just tell Hank that Hank Seaman run the deal. I just tell him, we're having a big headbutt on something else anyway, that that'll be something smooth or smooth out the bumps a little bit, like we talked about that. Oh, okay.
So then, another, I guess I have another question. So Appendix A of the Board of Directors is for the committee assignments, and not only, they're not committee assignments, but a synopsis of what the committees do. We've asked for some changes to that, so how, I think like the Parks and Rec committees doesn't need to be changed, Area Fund doesn't need to be changed, the REDAC doesn't need to be changed, Senior Center, I don't know, do you think that one needs to be changed at all? Or?
I didn't see anything.
Okay, but the audit committee one is definitely, that we're gonna need to do a little bit of work on that one.
To change that committee and its definition, et cetera, is that something we have to, when it comes back, vote on it? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to do it all at once, so if there's any other ones.
Yeah, I think really, looking at them, I didn't see any other ones that really need to be modified.
There's the weekly vendor needs to do a barbecue for us committee.
There's that. No pizzas.
Move that over to Mayo. And also, I do have a correction on the Senior Center Board. Last on it says that the MFC Board of Directors meets once per month on the third Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. They don't meet technically every month. They're required to meet a certain number of times a year, and they do skip months. This last month included. If that's important.
This is, I mean, it's important to make sure that whoever takes it on in the future knows about it. So if you want to suggest some language for that for me? Or
The
take it out
language of
completely?
the required meetings are in the bylaws. And
So just put that in there instead.
Leslie can get you the bylaws or tag on them.
Senior Center bylaws.
Very interesting to read.
Okay, well, I think we're good.
I read them once.
We'll move on to item E8.
Much
Is, consider approval of professional services agreement with Willman Financial to form the annual Measure B renewal, as well as an assessment study.
So the district has a long-standing working relationship with Willdan Financial due to past work and the fact that they have all the necessary financial models, spreadsheets, and data for the annual Measure B renewals for MCSD. The proposal was requested from Willdan, which is included as Exhibit A to Attachment 1, to conduct the Measure B renewal for 2022, as well as perform an assessment study for Measure B in compliance with Prop 218 requirements. The proposal outlines in detail the below tasks. Read through them. The scope is to perform the Measure B renewal that is done every year and will provide the county with the Measure B assessment roles for 2022-23. That's what we do every year. The second part of the scope is to, at a minimum, begin to look at reassessing the annual Measure B property tax amounts. Measure B assessment helps to fund the Parks and Rec Department. Thanks for the lead into this, Dennis. Including the operation and maintenance of facilities at Pearson Park, including the Senior Center, Azalea Hall, Teen Center, Activity Center, the Sheriff's Substation, the library, the playground, etc., as well as Hiller Park, the dog park, Hewitt Ranch, and will also be used to help operate and maintain the new BMX track, the proposed skate park, and the new community forest. The Measure B assessment still remains at the $30 per single family dwelling unit that it was when the measure was first passed in 1992. Meanwhile, the consumer price index has risen from 140.3 in 1992 to 258.81 in 2020, an increase of almost 85%. This is reflected in the struggle that the Parks and Rec Department has in balancing their budget every year to continue the level of service that the citizens of McKinleyville have come to expect. The facilities have also gotten 28 years older since 1992, and maintenance costs have increased as the facilities wear out. It's important to note that the performance of this analysis does not mean that the district is increasing the Measure B assessment. It is merely the first step required to look at the possibility of increasing the Measure B assessment. It should also be noted that the total fee of $46,620 for the Wildan contract, which is what staff's recommendation is, includes several optional public outreach tasks. The actual contract to be signed with Wildan upon board approval will not include these tasks in the scope, and therefore will be not to exceed a fee of $29,840. Board approval of the fee for the optional tasks would, however, allow staff to move forward with contract amendments if when staff deems assistance is required for one or more of these optional tasks. So staff recommends that the board review the information provided, discuss, take public comment, and authorize the general manager to execute the professional services agreement with Wildan Financial to provide services to perform the Measure B renewal for 2022, an assessment study for amount not to exceed $46,620. One other item I wanted to point out is Director Rossini pointed out that on page 279 of your board packets, the sentence that says conduct a waster, geez, I spelled that wrong too.
Yeah.
A waster and sewer rates and connection fee study should be stricken and be replaced with conduct a 2022 Measure B renewal and benefits assessment analysis as detailed in Exhibit A. So again, what we would do, we do the regular Measure B assessment that we do every year, feed that to the county rules, but they would also do the engineer's study to start looking at Measure B and how much it really costs to run all these facilities. When they finished that, we would take that back to the board, and then we could start our discussion on, okay, do we want Measure B not, and if so, by how much? So,
not to split hairs, but I completely agree in your analysis of the change in what $30 was worth in 1992 and what $30 is worth today. There's no comparison, and I think that's very pertinent. I just would also like to bring up that we financed with the original Measure B, we financed all the buildings on this piece of property and Hiller Sports Site, the property at Hiller Sports Site. So that money then what that cost was then came back and as actual revenue again after we retired those. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, if the people were willing to spend $30 all those years ago, I think that they would be willing to spend a few bucks now, as opposed to seeing our facilities get shuttered. And
that was one of the things on my list of things that we said throughout last year that we needed to revisit and talk about, and to do hire a survey company to ascertain the feeling of the community on that.
Yeah. So, but I think it's a good idea to figure out what the community force is going to cost us, what we need to get Leslie's department solvent again, and then maybe after we do that, then we find out the comfort level of the community as to what they would be willing to, what they'd be willing to kick up, because needless to say, Manila, they basically, their park department, their revenue issues were so bad, they basically boarded up all their parks facilities and shut them down. I don't think the people in McKinleyville want to see that happen. I definitely, as a board for this and as a long-term employee, long-term resident of this community, and as a board member, I definitely don't want to see that happen to us. So I think that we definitely, it's gonna be painful, and I think it's gonna be tough. But we definitely need to make our parks department solvent again.
It'll only be painful until we get it implemented.
Until we all get voted out for it?
Well, no, once it gets implemented, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, but once it gets implemented, it, people, it'll adjust, things
Yeah.
will adjust. The painful part is just like you say, and I'm used to being called SOB anyway, so it don't bother me. Up for me,
Anyone
I
else?
wanna raise your rates.
But we're not raising the rates, we're just raising the Measure B, which is.
See how you politicians twist things? Can't you see? You snaky booger, you.
Rate study, fees.
I think everybody likes Parks and Rec enough that they might reach on the wall a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
We'd have to put it up, if we increase Measure B, we'd have to put it up to a vote.
Oh, it would have to go out, we'd have to do a whole measure, a whole new Measure B. Yeah.
Yeah, we could take a gallon of gas for your rec fee and stuff like that. We can make some money.
Okay, well, let's see, we need to make a motion to approve the,
Yes, we
I'll
do.
make a motion.
I'll second it.
Director Bender?
Aye.
Director Clark Peterson?
Aye.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
Director Orsini?
Yes.
And President Couch?
yes. Okay, well, that moves us to F, the report section, and we'll start with active committee reports, Parks and Recreation Committee first. Not me, okay.
I wasn't there.
Area Fund,
Did not meet,
did not meet. Redwood Region Economic Development,
did not meet.
Kellyville Senior Center Board,
Did not meet.
audit, well, we met, but we kind of went over the audit stuff, and we got anything we had to add, or
No,
we had audit on the agenda. So
nothing else to add at this time, thank you.
Employee negotiations, we haven't met, I'm waiting for them. Tell us they want some. The Kinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee,
Yes.
okay,
Come in. Okay, so we met on the 8th. We had a special meeting on December 8th, and we had a community safety update from Lieutenant Miller, briefing us on how things are doing with crime statistics. They brought a new canine on the force, and I'm not sure if they're done naming him, but you can go on their website and pick a name for him. I think that might be over with by now. That was Oh, his name is.
He was at Naveen's this morning for breakfast.
Oh, is he?
They didn't bring him in, but. he was
Yeah,
there.
right on. So anyway, and then we had community comment. Mary Burke talked about the California Unincorporated committee that she's been on since she was on the board of directors for McKinleyville Community Services District. And we talked mostly about the Draft Town Center ordinance. And John Ford, Michael Richardson, and John Miller talked about that. And we basically went through the first 8 pages or something like that in 2.5 hours. We got through the first 8 pages of the draft ordinance. Not a whole lot. We also reviewed the plots. My opinion, and I'm gonna go on an editorial here, is basically the plat that they have laid out designates areas, not because of their environmental sensitivity to open space and wetlands, but they just basically took public comment, decided that they're gonna divvy off a section of the property and make that no-go for no development. Which at some point when we get to that part of we actually start talking about that part of the the ordinance, I will definitely have some feedback for them on that. Some of the other concerns I have are related to changing terms and changing the environmental impact things, and then also some of the other zoning things that they want to do there. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with it without having to reopen the EIR and change EIR. But you know, Pat, you might have a better feeling for that from your background. Questions about that, and then we met again on the 29th, and we knocked out another. We made it to page 15 on that meeting. And it was basically just, now that meeting, there was actually a much more substantive, a lot of talk, not very much value for all the talking that got done, but there was some very valuable input that happened. So the amount of input that was pertinent was high value, but the percentage of the dissertation that went on, it wasn't lost, but in the big hole. So anyway, that's my feedback on what's going on. And I think there's a meeting on I'll be out of town on the 18th, and I've already made arrangements with Director Bender to cover that one. That's all I have. Thank you. Do you have anything else, Pat?
Nope. Good job. Thank you. Sounds like you guys have been busy. I've been a fly on the wall on Zoom on a couple of those meetings.
Yeah, I see you lurking in the background, Dennis, too.
Yeah. There are a few people that monopolize that, and it would be fine if they would say something different.
Yeah.
But they say the same gotten bacon thing every time.
Yeah, and they don't stick to 3 minutes, and that's aggravating thing. And you're starting to get a feeling that there's a committee that's getting an unfair amount of input and structure that's going into the ordinance that's outside the process that's been going on. And a lot of the things, then it's circumventing a lot of the things that we as the MICMAC had basically agreed as a committee, and gave direction back to the planning department that somehow has been circumvented because of feedback that they're getting from these small minority, not minority as in because of the amount of people involved in the group as opposed to the population of McKinney. Huh?
A microcosm.
A minimal microcosm.
Yes. And Mr. Ford's ear gets quite cauliflowered.
Yeah.
Good?
Yep. I'll
Okay.
shut up now. Sorry.
That's all right. All right. Humboldt Local Agency Formation Commission. Well, we met. And we approved McKinley bills.
And left out our thing.
Well, Pat was there. He didn't say anything to us. And I actually normally I'm an alternate. I got to be on the board as a board member for that meeting, and I got to vote on it. I cleared, yeah, it was okay. No conflict of interest. So.
It's your fault.
It's all me. Environmental Matters Committee did not meet. The ad hoc committee, we haven't done anything, right?
Yeah. Oh, for what?
The ad hoc committee?
The forest?
Oh, the community forest one? Yes. Yeah, we met.
Wait. Yeah, I was thinking of the other ad hoc committee.
Oh, the
But you guys
Lake
met?
Flowers.
Okay, I'll let you do that one. Sorry. Anything on community forest? We met?
Yeah, we met.
Some access discussions and trying to figure out how to figure out the way to get the ground running on security. Security's a big issue, going to be a real big issue, and when we take over, we want to be already running before we do it, not figure it out.
Yeah, I think the most pertinent thing was the agreement by Green Diamond to deed the easements for access, was fairly important that we got that accomplished. And some, we maybe start the public meetings in February, but probably not. Or are we still planning on doing that?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have Pat, help me out here. We're gonna have a phone conference and a public get-together, and which was first?
February 26th, Leslie helped me out here. February 26th, we were gonna do a Saturday in-person activity center.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I booked it in here, actually. There will be ball games happening there.
And then how long after that for the?
March 8th to Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we'll do a Zoom one, and Leslie is also putting together an online survey.
Yeah, so actually quite a bit of movement in it, you know.
So could we get invites? For that?
Things?
Yeah. Thank you.
When and how are we going to publish that? Facebook, the paper, the news, the substandard, the First Gazette and Arcata, North Coast Journal.
About the North Coast Journal, but
they're actually pretty good coverage. I know a lot of people that read it and not the other rag.
You have a press release.
Yes, they.
And they'll send it out to, we have.
We have a standard press release.
Email addresses of customers, we can send a constant contact out. The email.
Is Red-Headed Black Belt on our media list? Yeah.
On the one that I have, yes.
Yeah, because she really gets a lot of coverage, very well liked.
I'm sure it'll be a lot of public interest in whatever we do.
Oh, yeah, wait until we start talking about putting entryways in front of their houses. A lot of people are gonna have a lot to say about that.
All right, now we can go to the ad hoc committee Latin powers. We did.
No, we didn't meet.
We have another member who frequently writes things for us, John Corbett. We kind of meet when he tells us he's got something ready.
Yeah.
Right, legislative and regulatory reports.
The payment for the arrearages.
Yeah.
Was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And I sent a few things out through Pat. I don't remember. I apologize. Had a few things forwarded to you guys. We had a meeting with Crowfoot down in Secretary of Resources, Mr. Crowfoot down in Pasadena, and so and then the drought automatic restrictions just were no, which were basically the same as last time, which I guess we're going to have to adhere to, even though we can't have people watering their sidewalk by washing their cars, but I guess they can just park their car out in the rain and get washed, I guess.
Yes, open it before you go to sleep at night and all run stuff in the morning.
Anyway, that's about it, I guess.
So I've got some legislative stuff too. So I've got a special. We've got a special meeting on Friday at 9 a.m. for the CSDA Ledge Committee, and we're going to be talking about the agreement with LAFCO to address the key remaining recommendations from the 2017 Little Hoover Commission report on special districts. We've got to craft a position on statewide initiatives to amend the California Constitution in a manner that could drastically reduce the revenues for local services and render board members personally liable for litigation. So that's the main reason why we're gonna have that one is to get.
And isn't it amazing how all the controversy we did with Will Hoover for the last several years ends up being there?
Yeah.
You know?
And then positions for a 2-year bill that could resurrect the division of local property taxes away from special districts, which if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that they pulled that one before. Well, they're looking to do that again.
And
that's to fund the RDAs.
Yeah, I was going to say the new redevelopment initiatives or.
So anyway, we'll be addressing position. We'll be setting up positions on those on this Friday.
And I can tell you that Neil there at special districts and our representatives at Aqua were working their butts off on that. So we've got just as good a representation to try to protect us as you could ever get. You never know whether we'll be protected in the end or not, but we're certainly working, and you guys are working your butts off on it.
Yeah, I was so busy when I was the president and stuff like that. I got off of the ledge committee, but I'm glad I'm back on it.
You know, the thing when you were talking about getting voted off and stuff, to do this job, so to speak, is so much more than the sum of its parts if you're going to do it right. So many more hours of time consuming. It's really mind-boggling if you try to just on a cold conversation with a ratepayer. They just don't, you know.
Yeah,
it's really,
I don't expect people to understand.
Well, no, I know, but I'm just saying, and this board has come a long way in the last 15, 16 years in our legislative advocacy and has culminated in a lot of great stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we're eligible for a lot of these grants we're getting now has been, those areas were forged by us going down there and talking to those guys and saying, hey, when you guys write grants, we want special districts to be named specifically and eligible for these grants. So
it's interesting, you know, and I've told you this before, Tim Scott, I talked to him ad nauseum about special districts when we were trying to get that dedicated 5%. Mm-hmm. And you have to have people throughout the nation, representatives throughout the nation, don't understand special districts that work in states like ours, and their states and special districts aren't the same way. So they don't have a vision of what, you know, and it takes a lot to I'll shut up, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to F3, staff reports. So, Colleen.
I'm gonna make everybody's night. Nothing further to add at this time.
Yay! You know.
How about the weather, James? How did we fare with all the rain and everything like that with I&I and stuff? Good. The winds didn't catch us or anything?
We had one down tree at treatment plant, but we cut off the fence.
Did you lose power anywhere?
No. One flickered at my house, but that was it.
We had a power outage at Arcata and Sunnybrae, and our SCADA system did not pick it up. And I just happened to have to come in at midnight for something else. And look, that water tank's almost empty. So we had pull the generator.
At least it wasn't a lift station, huh?
No, but you run people out of water, it's equally as bad.
Yeah. You had to do a boil of water notice.
Yeah, but if your main goes to
How's
zero,
your filtration issues there these days?
Well, we've been working on it and it's better, but it's still like our flows, you know, in the summer, 1 million gallons and they're 4 million gallons now.
Well, that's better than what they used to be, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I've seen 16 million.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. 400% is a blessing compared to what it used to be.
The But this year, the weather, all the rain and everything has been kind of manageable. It's not, a half inch every other day is, everybody can handle that pretty much.
Yeah, we're.
Instead of 2 or 3 inches a day, that's. But. So let's see, Pat, or did I skip Leslie, or you?
You skipped Leslie.
I don't have anything to add to my report.
I have nothing further to add to my report.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I didn't.
Uh-oh.
I forgot. So there's gonna be a Kung Fu class starting mid-January?
Yeah.
You can become Shaolin monks?
Wu Gar Kung Fu. On Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Wow.
It should start next week.
Who's your Wu Gar guy?
His name is Jason Wilson.
I know Jason, yeah.
We're trying to do things.
Well, President report, I don't have anything to add. Jolene, though, I know you're the vice president.
How about, now
so
you
we're
forgot
told,
Pat?
so. Well,
No,
he
I
said he had nothing to
Oh,
add.
yeah, he had nothing to add, okay.
He had the same, nothing to add, keeping up that tradition. So now we got board member comments, announcement, reports, and agenda item requests. Any,
All I've got
got
is
it all out already?
next week, or the week after next, I have a CSDA meeting. We've got CSDA board orientation, and then the next day we have a meeting, so I'll be going down to Sacramento, weather approved.
And then I'm on the Aqua Board of Directors again, and when's that, February?
It's in February, yeah.
February, going down to the first meeting, an actual physical meeting.
Yeah.
But anyway, because of the weather sketches it's been, I'll go ahead. I've already made arrangements. I got my hotel room already planned, and I'll drive my truck just in case.
Okay, I think we're ready for adjournment then.
So moved.